Today I want to talk about the Week 9 lecture, Virtual Employees and Virtual Teams. Landy and Conti on pages 523 and 525 of the text describe virtual teams, so you may want to review that content as well. Certainly global organizations and cost advantage, I think, will increase the use of virtual teams and employees. In addition, new technologies like Skype and a GoToMeeting like we used here also make it cost effective and will increase the use of these teams. Virtual work environments are different than traditional environments, and they have to be recognized as different. They also, virtual teams offer a greater challenge in terms of building cohesiveness and getting virtual employees to feel a part of the organization. Virtual employees and teams are dependent upon communications as opposed to interpersonal interactions in a traditional environment. They often span time zones, and as a result, real-time communication using Skype or GoToMeetings is not even, it's possible, but it's more of a challenge, and so they rely more on written messages like emails. To illustrate the difference in managing, Marissa Mayer at Yahoo, she's an excellent CEO, and she was brought into Yahoo to straighten out some performance problems where employees have been underperforming. She tends to be a database decision maker, which leads me to believe that in the underperformance of Yahoo employees, the virtual employees and teams were part of the underperformers, and so the quickest fix was to bring them back in the office to straighten it out. And I'm going to argue that's likely a reflection of how they were being managed, and that's something that we can see in the future. She may straighten that out. Communication is so important with virtual employees and teams, and employees, it's much easier to feel excluded when they're virtual. We talked earlier in the class about Mary Rowe's concept of micro inequities, these small events that are often hard to prove and also often unintentional, but nonetheless they result in exclusion. I always tell students that when operating in a virtual environment, choose to interpret messages as if the sender had a positive intent, because I think that's typically the case. In communications, avoid micro inequities in communications and consider culture and language first. I remember a company that was operating here in America is Japanese owned, so the top leaders were in Japan, and the Americans would often send email messages to Japan waiting on a decision so they could move forward, and they simply wouldn't get the decision. And in investigating that, it turned out to be a case of Americans using a lot of narrative words in a message, and it was difficult for the Japanese using English as a second language to find the critical information they needed to make a decision and send it back. In order to fix that problem, what they did, they created a template, and the template confined the message to the fewest words possible, yet it included the critical information needed for the Japanese managers to make a decision. And once they'd done that, then the decision-making process all speeded up. Capella is a virtual organization or a virtual collective of learners. Our Psychology 8711 class is a collective of learners interested in studying IO psychology. Recommendations, once again, I would emphasize interpret messages as if the sender had a positive intent. Be mindful yourself of micro inequities when you're communicating in class. Also, remember the concept of equifinality. There's multiple successful paths to an outcome, so when someone gives you feedback that's different than what you were thinking, that's okay. It's creating choices, and it's better to have choices than not. These are the references supporting today's lecture, and you'll find them listed in the transcript for this lecture. Thank you.